Hi everyone, welcome back to the PowerLeader Podcast. Today we are breaking down how narcissistic traits show up in professional and especially in leadership environments. These patterns are subtle at first, but once you understand the psychology behind them, you will see the architecture clearly. We will also explore why narcissists often dislike certain people and why that is actually a sign of your strength and not your inadequacy. And finally, we will walk through some of the important behavior patterns that instantly reveal a narcissistic leader, no matter how charming or polished they appear on the surface. Let's begin. Do you know how narcissistic traits show up in everyday relationship? They center every interaction around themselves. Narcissistic individuals redirect conversation back to their achievements, their struggles, their brilliance, or their victimhood. And in leadership, this looks like taking credit for teamwork, taking credit for someone else's brilliance, intelligence, and their visionary feedbacks, making decisions based on ego, not strategy, using meetings as stages where they want to showcase how good they are instead of a collaboration space. And they lack emotional reciprocity. They expect empathy but rarely offer it. In leadership, this becomes no psychological safety, dismissive responses to concerns, punishing people for being human. And they rewrite reality. Narcissistic distort facts to protect their image. In the workplace, this is the manager who doesn't remember promising you credit, who never said they would support your promotion, can't recall the conversation where they approved your idea, and they use people as supply. Narcissistic leaders don't build a relationship, they build resource pipelines. You become admiration supply, labor supply, emotional supply, and reputation supply. And when you stop supplying, they withdraw, punish, or replace. And do you know why narcissistic dislike certain people? And this is where the psychology gets empowering. Narcissistic dislike people who possess traits they cannot control, manipulate, or overshadow. These traits include strong intuition, where you see through inconsistencies quickly, and narcissistic experiences this as a threat. Emotional independence, where you don't need their approval to feel whole, they dislike it because they cannot hook you. High empathy paired with boundaries, where you are kind but not naive, so you can't be exploited. The narcissistic leaders hate it. Authenticity. Your grounded presence exposes their performance. Integrity. You won't bend rules or values to protect their image. Confidence without arrogance. You don't compete with them, but you also don't shrink. Self-awareness. You take accountability, which they cannot tolerate. And one of the important aspects, resilience. You recover from their tactics faster than they expect, which they cannot tolerate. Independence of thought. You don't adopt their worldview automatically. Emotional maturity. You communicate directly, which destabilizes their manipulation. And most importantly, inner light. Your presence alone disrupts their control system. These traits don't make you disliked. They make you unusable and therefore unmanageable to a narcissistic leader. One of the most dangerous patterns in organization is what happens when an insecure or narcissistic leader encounters an employee who is more capable, more experienced, or simply thinks differently than they do. Instead of elevating that talent, these leaders begin a quiet campaign of minimization. They restrict access to tools, information, services, and resources. They assign responsibilities without the support required to succeed. They create conditions where the employee is set up to fail, not because of incompetence, but because the leader needs control. This is not accidental. It is a psychological defense mechanism. When a fragile leader feels threatened, they don't compete with excellence. They suffocate it. They may even go as far as stripping tasks away, redistributing responsibilities, or manufacturing a narrative that the employee is less valuable than they truly are. The goal is simple: make the strong feel powerless so the insecure can feel safe. And here are some of the behaviors that are consistent in every narcissistic leaders. Grandiosity. They exaggerate achievements, status, or importance. And entitlement. They expect special treatment without earning it. Lack of empathy. They cannot attune to others' emotional states. Manipulative charm. They are charismatic when they want something. Constant need for validation. They require admiration like oxygen. Boundary violations. They push, test, and override limits. Blame shifting. Nothing is ever their fault. Fragile ego. They react intensely to even a gentle feedback. Image obsession. They curate personas, not relationships. In leadership, these traits become toxic culture, high turnover, fear-based decision-making, innovation collapse, psychological harm. Employees who are listening, please start practicing the high-level strategies for protecting yourself from a narcissistic, insecure leader. Name the pattern. Once you see it, you stop personalizing it. Stop explaining yourself. Trust me, ego-driven, narcissistic leaders do not change. They don't misunderstand. They just disregard. Set boundaries without emotion, clear, direct, and neutral. Document everything. Build external support because isolation is their favorite tactic. Reclaim your identity. Ego-driven, narcissistic environments shrink you and healthy environments expand you. If you recognized these patterns, it does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. And if a narcissistic disliked you, dismissed you, or tried to diminish you, it is not because you lacked value. It is because you possessed qualities they could never control. Your empathy, intuition, integrity, and emotional intelligence are not liabilities. They are your power, and they are exactly what narcissistic leaders fear most. Organizations that are listening. Here is the truth organization must face. These patterns are often invisible to outsiders and nearly impossible to prove through traditional HR systems. Surveys can lie. Metrics can be manipulated. Inflated scopes and inflated results can create the illusion of success in cultures built on favorism and obedience. When a system rewards titles instead of competence, the system itself becomes complicit. This is why organization must start looking at the patterns. Who gets visibility? Who gets silenced? Who gets promoted without the background to lead? Who arrives with deep experience yet remains invisible? These are not random occurrences. They are indicators of cultural decay. Every organization should conduct talent visibility audits, leadership background assessments, and pattern-based culture reviews. Because if even one employee raises concerns and the organization ignores it, it is only a matter of time before it becomes a reputational or cultural crisis. Because toxicity does not stay contained, it spreads. Do not expect or rely on the very leaders who created toxic work environments to be the ones who transform them. The same lack of long-term vision, the same inability to hire based on competence, and the same absence of emotional integrity and psychological maturity that created the dysfunction cannot suddenly produce a healthy, resilient organization. Leaders who fail to see an organization as a living system will continue to misinterpret feedback as threat instead of a gift. Leaders who cannot translate high-level strategy into executable plans will continue to confuse activity with impact. Leaders who evaluate employees by the number of tasks completed rather than the value of their contribution will always miss true talent. Leaders who lack business acumen will never understand return of investment in real measurable terms. This is how technical and business debt accumulates through linear mistakes, overhiring, unnecessary tools, excessive spending, and opportunistic professional dynamics that erode culture and clarity. A truly strong, resilient, and profitable organization is built by leaders who recognize patterns, not performative metrics. It is built by leaders who invest capital in visionary, innovative, purpose-driven work that strengthen the organization's long-term resilience. It is built by leaders who elevate real talent, cultivate psychological safety, and make decisions grounded in integrity, not ego. Transformation requires a different kind of leadership, one capable of seeing the future, not repeating the past. Strong organization don't wait for a headline. They intervene early. They identify the hidden power dynamics. They correct the culture before the culture corrects them. Anyone who has survived a narcissistic leader, hear me clearly. You are not broken. You were in a distorted environment. And your strength is not gone. It is waiting to be reclaimed. You can rebuild yourself and you can lead in a way that breaks the cycle for everyone who comes after you. That is the work of a power leader. In the next episode of the Power Leader Podcast, we will explore the strategy to rebuild your identity, strength, career, and your leadership voice. Stay tuned. This is the Power Leader Podcast. Signing off, Dia.